everybody, Richard Gaming Guy here. So I finally finished my WWF Wrestlemania Arcade cabinet. And this used to be a Arcade1up Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet, which was one of the crappiest models that Arcade1up ever released because it was just really basic and it didn't offer a whole lot. And the pictures, I think, were a little bit misleading. So first off, it didn't come with a riser, so that's an additional cost I had to, obtain separately. It didn't come with a marquee, not a light up marquee. It didn't come up with like the box or anything. It literally just had a spot where they put the Mortal Kombat 2 graphic in place. And it was just a decal that they stuck on there. So in pictures, it looked really cool. But unless you zoomed in, you probably didn't realize, or at least I didn't realize, that it wasn't a legitimate marquee. I just assumed it was like, the other Arcade1ups that I've had that had either light up marquee or at least just a basic marquee that you could light up if you wanted to. So I ended up having to tackle that project as well, but I got really lucky, and I got lucky actually half-assing something. So I'm going to show you guys through every little bit of this. Let's first take a look at the graphics of this because I'm blown away by the quality of graphics that I was able to get. And I got everything from Escape Pod Online, who I also used for the Arcade1up mod that I did on my NFL Blitz Legacy cabinet that I converted over to an Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom cabinet. If you haven't seen that video, take a look at the video right up here at the top of your screen. I'll also put a link in the description. But let's dive into the graphics here first, and then we'll comb through everything else that I did to this cabinet right here. All right, guys, so first off, let's go down the side. You can see we've got Undertaker here, and notice there's no pixelation on here, and that is because these guys actually worked to kick up the resolution. So this on the original is super pixelated, but you can see here it's high definition, really nice. I mean, Undertaker never looked so good. Same thing down here with the WWF logo and the WrestleMania logo. Now let's go over here to the front of this. You'll notice that we now have a light up marquee, not just a marquee, but it lights up beautifully. I'm going to show you guys what I actually did to this because it's pretty incredible, in fact. And it was something that I completely half-assed. So right here, you can see we actually have a little rounded edge to this. And if I zoom in, you're going to see how crappy the job I actually did. Now, not the marquee. The marquee is phenomenal. That is also by Escape Pod Online. But take a look at this. If we go underneath here, you can actually see the original one. So what ended up happening here was I talked about how this under here was the graphic for just a decal graphic of the Mortal Kombat 2 from Arcade1up. Well, when I had them do the graphics, I said, just make me one that is WrestleMania. So if we go up there, you can see it's the WrestleMania one, exactly what I asked for. Well, when I had them do this over here, this is the Indiana Jones one, I had them give me an actual marquee. So they made this after the fact. I put that in, and they also made me one for this. However, I didn't have, and you can still see over here, I don't have an actual marquee. So I ended up just bending this and putting it in place here. So take a look at this. I can actually remove this quite easily. And what I ended up doing was I put in an LED strip in here. It simply actually has little clips, which if I go up here, you can see there's one clip right there, one clip located right here. They actually stick in place, and then I reinforce them with a screw. I drilled a really rough hole right here. And the wiring for this goes directly into the mini PC within. So as soon as I fire up the mini PC, this lights right up. And then this, we have some sticky double-sided silicone tape here and here. This literally just sits in place like that. It's literally that simple, but it looks really good. It's just honestly thrown together and totally half-assed, but it sits in here beautifully. And look, it doesn't shake, it doesn't move, nothing, unless I actually bend it and pull it out. So yeah, just literally threw that together, but I love the way it looks. And yes, I have a little gap here and here, but you don't notice that when you're just looking at it. You look at the marquee and it looks really shiny. It looks really nicely put together. So down here we have graphics. Now these I had trouble with, in all honesty. That's my ability or inability. So I ended up redoing this panel down here. I did lose 2 wrestlers at the bottom, but if I didn't mention that, you probably wouldn't have noticed. Down here at the control deck, if you actually look at the original WrestleMania cabinet's control deck, what they did here was they had custom graphics around all of the buttons. And because this is a smaller scale than the original, I just couldn't get them to line up right. Plus, I had to bring in some additional buttons into the mix, for the coins and stuff like that. So ended up kind of switching it up a little bit here. I talked to the guys over at Escape Pod Online, and I said, basically, I want to do the WrestleMania logo, the WWF logo, and I want to add the flames as well. They said no problem. They knocked it out, and it looks phenomenal. Look at those graphics. Really sharp stuff there. So let's go over here to the other side. So over here, we have the same deal, Undertaker. My lighting's not on this side, so it's really hard to see. Now, if we go down here, you can see we have a custom WWF, old school WWF logo. This is all 3D printed with RGB lighting built into it. So you can see the sides has the RGB lights. These have 4 settings. You can alternate colors. You can stick to one solid color. You can do different effects on there. I have right now, this is called the smooth effect, and it basically just transitions between all these different colors. I'll actually kill the lights in a minute so you guys can see. And I found a guy that makes these on Etsy. And I think this whole thing costs like $100 or so. I think he's in Poland, if I'm not mistaken. And this is just phenomenal. So this is also, just like the marquee, it's powered by a cable that goes right through the backside. If I go under here, you can see the little cable at the bottom right up there. And that goes through the front panel there, and it actually gets plugged into a power outlet behind the actual cabinet. So as soon as I power everything on, that lights right up. So if we go down from there, you can see we have the riser with the flame graphics. We also have the WWF logo in the front. On the side, it's just the flames. Other side's exactly the same. I even put in some of these feet here just to raise this up a little bit more because I wanted it to go next to my Indiana Jones cabinet, which is right over there. That's a higher cabinet than what they typically sell. So this one had to get a little bit higher just so it matched up. And I think it came out really nice in the end. So here we are on the back side. So we have everything that was modded to actually make this run off of this mini PC, which is right over here. This is a Codlix mini PC. I've done a full review and demo of this mini PC here on the channel. I'll put a link at the top of your screen. This right here is the receiver for the actual LED lights. So I can actually use a remote to change the colors and effects on there. I do have to come in here with some zip ties and just tidy everything up. But the 2 controls, you can see wires hanging from player 1 and player 2 back there. It all connects over directly into the mini PC. That's what these, USB cable connections are for. And all of this runs off of an SSD, which you can actually see is down there. I'm going to actually fix that to the wall right over here as well. And the cool thing about an external SSD is that you can actually disconnect that and bring it over to a PC if you want to. It's literally as easy as just simply pulling that SATA connection off of the SSD, and then you can go ahead and install it just about anywhere you want on any PC. Over here I have a tray with just some extra parts, some extra buttons, and then that right there is the remote that actually controls that 3D printed light in the, or 3D printed sign and light in the front of this. Let's dive in here, and I want to show you guys what I put together here in terms of games, because of course we have WWF Wrestlemania in here playing, but we have so many other games too. And now if we go in here, you can see we just exited out of WrestleMania. That's in the MAME collection. Now I still have to add Superstars and WrestleFest in here. I am going to do that very soon. But if we back out, you can see we have all these collections. So this is using Batistera on a mini PC. I'll show you guys the inside of this momentarily. But if we go through here, we have all these collections. And what I've done so far is I've actually set everything up to just have wrestling games currently. And I'll probably add some more stuff in later, but for right now, I just wanted to have only wrestling on here. I do have another cabinet here. Actually, I have 2 cabinets here. I have a light gun specific one that I modded, and then I have the Indiana Jones one, which I already showed you guys. That one has about 11,000 games on it, so I don't need a whole lot here, but I want to have purely wrestling. So Xbox is here. If we go into Xbox, we have WWE Raw 2. If we back out of that one, we can go into like NES over here. We have all of our NES wrestling games, King of the Ring, WrestleMania, WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge. We have WrestleMania Challenge. All those classics will back out. We have Game Boy games. We have Super Nintendo. Take a look at Super Nintendo. One of my favorites, and what I think is just hugely underrated, is WCW Super Brawl Wrestling. We also have Raw in here. We have Royal Rumble in here. We have Super WrestleMania. We have WrestleMania, the arcade game, which is a great game. Obviously, that's what I modeled this after, but I prefer the arcade version. We also will cycle right back around, so I will add some more stuff to each of these collections, but N64. So inside N64 here, you'll notice we have WrestleMania 2000. We have WCW Mayhem. We have WCW Nitro. We have WCW NWO Revenge. We have WCW vs. NWO World Tour. We have Attitude. We have No Mercy. We have Warzone. So all of those classic N64 games. Now I do have to add some ECW in here. but I wasn't a big fan of the ECW games, honestly, but I do have them for the other collections, but I'll add them in here just to make this a little bit more complete. Still a work in progress, but we even have GameCube games. So if we jump in here, we have the Legends of Wrestling 2. I actually love these games. They're pretty basic in their gameplay, but you got to think back then, this was the only chance we had of playing NWA wrestlers, WCW wrestlers, ECW, WWF at the time is what it was. So that was the only game that included superstars and wrestlers from all of those different promotions in one game. Now it's a little bit different with the 2K games, but back then that was the only way to, get Superfly Snuka against Terry Funk against Roddy Piper. It was the only way to do that. So they are definitely some pretty cool games, and definitely a great way to enjoy all of that. So we have Day of Reckoning 1 and 2. We have WrestleMania 19, WrestleMania 18. I think those are underrated as well. So we'll back out, and we have Game Boy Advance. We have Nintendo DS. We even have Nintendo Wii in here. If we jump in here, we have All-Stars. We have the SmackDown versus Raw games from 08, 09, 2010, 2011. We have WWE 12 and 13. We have All-Stars. Great assortment of games. We'll keep it moving, though. We have Master System, Mega Drive, Game Gear, Sega Saturn. Dreamcast is a good one. Sega Naomi, which I've been playing a lot of this on here, actually. This is WWF Royal Rumble. This is an arcade game as well, so it performs beautifully on this cabinet here. Back out, we also have Dreamcast, of course, which has the same title, but we also have the ECW games in here. Hardcore Revolution. We also have Anarchy Rules. We'll back out. We have original PlayStation in here. So we've got still the ECW games there. We have Mayhem. We have Nitro. WCW versus the World. We have WCW NWO Thunder. We have Attitude. WWF In Your House. SmackDown 1 and 2. Warzone. And then, of course, the arcade game, which was put out to PlayStation as well. So we'll back out of that one. We even have PS2 in here, which is awesome. And one thing I will mention is you can get all of these games to work off of the control deck, but you can also use a controller, Bluetooth, or wired or wireless, whatever you want to do here. So we have TNA Impact. We have All-Stars again in here. We have some more of the SmackDown versus Raw games. WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, one of my favorites. We have Shut Your Mouth in here. Lots of great stuff. Just Bring It's another good one. So we'll back out. We have PSP. We even have PS3 in here. Now, this is one I probably wouldn't play with a control deck, but we have TNA Impact Total Nonstop Action Wrestling in here, which we also had for PS2. But we also have in here WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2008. So as you can see, it's definitely a work in progress, but it's come a long way. I'm really happy with the looks of it. I'm really happy with the performance here of the buttons, the controls. Everything just performs extremely well, but don't take my word for it. Let's play a quick game. All right, guys, so let me know what you think in the comments of this WWF Wrestlemania Arcade1up mod right here. If you enjoyed the video today, please give me a thumbs up on the video. It's a huge help to me here on YouTube. And, of course, hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.